Awesome. Welcome everyone to Sysco Canada's virtual kitchen. We have a phenomenal, it's kind of a groundbreaking moment here, or epic moment that we're going to have today with our next guest in here. And I'm going to introduce him in a second here, but I'm going to pull the screen down here and allow you to know that we also have in the studio today the faculty from NAIT, which is our culinary school here in Edmonton, Alberta. Canada, if you're outside of Canada, you don't know where we are. It's cold up here. But we have an amazing guest on the show today, and I'm going to bring him into the show right now because he's sitting there, and I'm not going to try to geek out, but I'm super honored and unbelievably excited to introduce this gentleman right here. So welcome, Chef Robert Irvine, to the SVK Network.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Excited, right? And I know where Canada is because I'm married to a Canadian.
You are. You ever been to Edmonton?
I've never been to Edmonton, but I've had a lot of live shows around Canada. My wife is from Toronto, so we go there quite a lot. But I have done some live shows all around Canada. So, but never Edmonton. Maybe we should go to Edmonton.
Yeah, put it on the list. Put it on the list. We could use your help up here. Right? So, Chef, you have just launched your book on Tuesday, and you're going across the country and all over sharing this amazing book that you have wrote. And we have some questions here that we want to ask you about that. But I want to start off, where did you start your culinary journey? Where did you get into it?
Actually, when I was 11 years old, I joined a home economics class in England because there were 30 girls and me. And I thought it was an opportunity, this is a true statement, I thought it was an opportunity that I would get a girlfriend. I made my first quiche Lorraine and really understood or didn't understand at the time what pastry, cheese, eggs, milk or cream, bacon, and some fresh herbs could provide a meal. And I was fascinated, and I still am fascinated today with that simple dish, believe it or not. I had it yesterday in New York City at Sarah Beth's. That was my beginning of falling in love with food. Literally falling in love with food because I was not interested in girls after that. It was sports and food. And here I am at 57 years old. Yes, I have a wife now, but I'm still in love with food, right? And my wife, obviously, and my kids, but food is what I do.
This is really cool. I took sewing, just so you know, to find the ladies too. It's a good move. I agree with you.
Nothing wrong with that. I sew, I knit, I darn, I cook, I clean. I'm a full service guy.
Lucky wife. Yeah, what a catch on many of those.
That is awesome. Watch all the chefs across the country now will be taking up sewing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's get into your book right now, Chef, and talk about what motivated you to write this book, because it is different than what you've done in the past on your books.
I've written 6 books. There's fitness books. There are cookbooks. There are how to bring your family up books. And this one was different simply because the show Restaurant Impossible is in its 14th year. We've done 350 plus episodes of this show. And if you can imagine, we get 2,000 people that want help every week. We get it down to 5, and then the network picks 1. So there's a huge need, not only for the restaurant industry, but also industry in general. So in my real world, we not only do TV, but we have 11 companies, about 5,000 employees, and I help major Fortune 500 companies by looking at their systems. So if you look at the mom and pop restaurants that do anywhere from 300,000 to 1.5 million or 2 million, and then you go all the way up to 53 billion. And the issues are scalable depending on where you are in that scale, right? So I can only help one company or one restaurant a week. So I decided to write this book to show you all my failures, number one, and why and how I failed and what made me fail, and then the things and the pitfalls to look for so you don't jump in where I failed, right? And I think that's the most important thing when I look at small business or even medium-sized business. there are three pillars of failure, and they never get addressed. And I address it every week on the show, whether I'm working with, I was an executive chef of one of the biggest casinos in the world at that time, cruise ships, all those kind of things that I've done have led to this book.
I think that, and I want viewers to, because I love the fact on your three, can you share with us those 3 points, Chef?
The number one is empathetic leadership. What does that actually mean? Chefs, and we're all on here, so I can say it because I'm a chef, they're all egotistical, as are a lot of CEOs.
There you go.
As are a lot of CEOs and whatever. So generally, can you put that screen up so I can see everybody's face?
Absolutely. There we go.
Because the faces are changing. Look. So CEOs, and if they're a good CEO, empathetic leadership means hiring people better than you, right? So instead of me being an alpha male or an alpha female, I'm going to hire a double A because I want to take this company to success. That means listening to the lowest man on the totem pole. It could be a janitor, it could be an oil guy, it could be a driver. It doesn't matter who it is, but you have to be able to listen, because if you listen, you will hear something that you're not listening for. In other words, ideas and differences of opinion. You can, and there's a way to do this. Obviously, you're not going to walk into your boss and say, that sucks, this sucks, that sucks, without having known number one, the timing, and number two, knowing the problem, but also offering a different solution. Right. So empathetic leadership is number one. Number two, and I want to see the faces here, is egos. Right. Losing your own ego and the egos of the team. Because if, for example, you, Jay, create, this hot cup of tea, and I say, oh, Jay, you're the best and you're the most amazing human being, but the other three chefs help you do it and create this tea, and we totally overlook them, then they get miffed, they get upset, because now you're the golden child and they are nobody in the system. So egos play a big role in failure in businesses. And then the next one is trust. Allowing you or me as the chef, having a vision, giving you my likes and dislikes, and hey, look, here's a task, go ahead and do it, but allowing you to fail. Now, why do I allow you to fail? Because you're a human being. All I ask is that you follow the direction, and if you fail, that you don't fail twice at the same thing. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, but not at the same thing. Yep. So they're my three pillars of what I call success. And I put it to simple terms for all of us, because we all use food, right? Take and there's a story in the book about lemon poppy seed pancakes. Why is there a story in the book? Because we tend to think as business owners, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. I'll make a recipe for 5 people for pancakes, and then all of a sudden 10 people show up, right? So I can double the recipe. But what happens when 20 or 30 or 40 people show up? Doubling and keep doubling that recipe doesn't make any sense. Number one, the stretches. Number two, all these things happen to make the pancake not work. And businesses tend to do that. Oh, we'll just double what we did, or we'll just change it slightly, but we'll stay where we are. You can't do that when you scale a business. So they're my kind of 3. There's a lot of anecdotal stuff in there about my first company, about me when I started, about the restaurants that I've helped and fixed and changed, and the big Fortune 500 companies that I work with. And if you look on the back of the book, you'll see the Dave Watsons of Comcast, NBC. You'll see the CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillan, all these people that I work with that have been successful because they understand those 3 pillars I just shared with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with it. So those are, first of all, I think those are pillars that we can put into everything that we do, not only business, but I think when you're looking at relationships and different things as well, I think they're so critical. And I love the fact that you have trust. I think that's a huge thing. And I've learned that through COVID as well, that trust has been, definitely a thing that you had to lean on Because a lot of people, I'm sure, especially with you, Chef, has probably been reaching out through COVID and different support, and there's a lot of trust you have
But
to
it's
have.
interesting. Through COVID, March the 17th, I was actually in doing a show in Pennsylvania. Got food poisoning at the place I was staying at. Spent 2 days in hospital. Then COVID happened. We spent a couple of months at home before I contacted Food Network, and they allowed me to take 4 buses on the road, 6 people on each bus, and we stayed in a little bubble, as it were. But we did 66 episodes of TV, which means 66 restaurants that we saved through COVID. When nobody else was on the road, everybody was scared. Nobody knew what COVID was. You know, it's one of those things. I actually got COVID myself in that 2 months I was home, and spent 6 days in hospital when there was no vaccines. There was nothing. Take vitamin D and suck it up, buttercup, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I had thousands and thousands of emails through COVID. It's funny, my wife would sit outside in the garden. I would sit inside and watch TV and do emails. And then we got on the road, and we've never stopped since, you know.
Wow. So I want one of the chefs, we're going to have the chefs here that are in the studio with us ask you each a question, Chef.
Hi, Chef. It's an honor to meet you.
What is your name?
I'm Kelsey. Kelsey Johnson is my name. Nice to meet you as well. I've watched you for a long time. Being instructors, first of all, the pillars you talked about were kind of awesome to hear about, and I hope for you as well reaffirms a bit of what we're hopefully trying to bring to the classroom to young chefs. One of the questions we get from them is how to set their goals for the future, where they're kind of headed. So what advice would you give to not just young people, but anyone, not even in the food industry, but out there for good goal setting techniques, or what advice would you give to those people?
That's a great question. First of all, thank you for all of you, what you do, making future culinarians or hotel managers or food and beverage guys. One thing I will say to all of you, and then I will answer your question, is, you know, the school setting is very, you know, we all went through it. I did 8 weeks in the military to learn to cook, and then the rest is on the job training. I think you have to be really realistic with students, and I'm doing it right now with the military in the same process. So the U.S. military, the process is this: you can teach the things you need to teach them, right? Slowly, some learn faster than others. Some don't pick it up, and some do. But when you get into the industry, everything that you've taught them really goes out the window. The basics are still there, right? Of course they are, you know. But you know, I remember, and this is a faux pas on my part, so that's what I'm telling you. When I came out of my training and I went to my first job, and they said to me, "Oh, by the way, Robert, you're going to cook. The Prince of Wales is coming in. You need 3,000 eggs, hard-boiled eggs." And I said, "Oh, great." So as a young cook, 8 weeks out, right? I've been in the Navy 12 weeks. I went, put the steam kettle on, didn't boil it, didn't do anything with it, just put 3,000 eggs in there. It came back, times 3,000 eggs times 11 minutes. When I came back, there was nothing left, right? And nobody, right? They disintegrated. Nobody told me anything about anything, except, you know, hard-boiled egg, 10 to 11 minutes, whatever. And I think you've got to explain that to the young people that want to be culinarians before they leave you, you know, because there's people out there, and I do it with my team. I play with them all the time. I'll set them up. Somebody made me walk 2 miles up the road to put, because the electric went out, and said, "Oh, put this money in this slot." The slot was never there. Gullible, yes. I think, you know, tell the people that as they go in, they are. It sounds, you're new and you don't know anything, right? Because I find even at the CIA in New York City, when people come out of there with a 2-year degree, they think they know everything. They wear a chef's hat. They call themselves chef. And I'm a cook. I cook. I put stuff in a pan and I throw it out, right? And hopefully it tastes good. My goal setting techniques are really simple. I always look at what is the end result that you require, right? And I work back from that. So I'll put it into a military term, which will make it easier to understand. if I want to take a machine gun post on a mountain or a hill, how do I get there strategically? If I go straight up, what happens? I'm going to get shot because the bullets are right there, right? So I zigzag, and my zigzag could be a year in this place learning, a year in this place. It may be a year in France, a year in Germany, 6 months. It's those experiences that make you as good as you're going to get. And I'm a cook that was formally trained in the military, but worked with Michel and Albert Roux at La Gavroche through tea at me. I mean, literally for 4 years. You can't do that now. Obviously, our life has changed, right? The world has changed. But those experiences, I laugh at now. I didn't when it was happening to me, but I relish those steps of failure and success, because you don't, and I said this in the book, you don't make the same failure twice. You know, I remember taking a cup of tea to Michel one day, and I gave it to him. I warmed the cup, and it was a systematic thing he was trying to teach me. And he threw it at me after 4 years of doing the same thing. 4 years. And eventually I got up the goal to say, you know what, that's it, I'm done. I came to America. I jumped on a cruise ship as an executive sous chef. And don't you know it, 2 weeks later, they became the corporate chefs of a cruise ship. They fired the chefs and made me the chef. And that was an experience, right? So I think it's setting goals and realistic goals, right? You're not a chef. I don't care how many years you've been in. I'm still not a chef. I work with some of the top. I mean, it was Michel Richard who passed away. It was Eric Ripert. I mean, Danielle. I work with, and I literally walk still to this day 4 paces behind them when they walk. And they always say to me, no, Robert, you know, come. I'm like, no, I am not worthy to be, you know, and I still feel that way. I have my chefs. I have 5 chefs that work for me. They're all better than me. They're all better than me. I would never want to go against any one of them in competition. So I think those learning experiences and the goals you set, they're constantly changing, and you have to adapt to that. And it's okay to work for people and not get paid. It's okay to you know, I don't know, eat crow for a little bit, as it were, because I think that builds character. I'm not saying let people throw tea over you, but
it's happened.
turn potatoes. I remember turning barrel potatoes for 2 years. We don't even do it anymore. But every side had to be in the middle, the same distance. So, you know, that's what I would say with goal setting. I hope that answered in a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Right.
Hi, Chef. Big fan. Love your granola bars. They're great. My turn. So how would you, as a chef, husband, businessman, define or measure success? And how would you say success, or your definition of success, has changed over the course of your successful career?
Success is different for everybody. What is your first name?
Haley.
Haley, thank you. Success is different for everybody. Look, I've got members on my team that don't want to grow. They're very comfortable where they are. And then I've got members on my team that want to, you know, go all the way. I think success for me is getting up in the morning and realizing that I can help somebody. And it may be one person, and this is not cliche, this is the truth. It may be one person, it may be, you know, last week I was feeding 5,000 people at a naval medical center in San Diego, right? And it's hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, sliced beef, right? And somebody with no legs or a 98% burn comes up and says, thank you for cooking that hot dog. You know, I'm like, are you kidding me? Those moments for me are really important. That's why I started a foundation, and everything that we do is about people, right? The TV shows, the books, the food, the bars, the liquor we have, all those businesses that we have. But I still don't feel I'm successful, right? I don't, because I chase, every time I reach a goal, I set the goal next higher or the level, so I can always have something to look forward to. So we're in food. Technology is the next thing, right? Because we're all in this, you're creating future culinarians. and managers and whatnot. There's not enough in the United States people to that want to cook anymore, that want to be in there. So what's next? How do we solve that? Is it machinery, right? And that's what's happening right now. I mean, Chipotle, McDonald's, they now have machines that make or flip hamburgers, do French fries, and Chipotle makes its chips by machine, and not just like a human, right? It doesn't put lemon and salt and pepper on every one. It's designed for that. And I think that's the future. I think we won't have dishwashers soon. There will be a machine that washes dishes, because the labor shortage in our business is changing dramatically. And I know, because I'm I'm spending, not only we have restaurants in the Pentagon and the military bases and Vegas, we have the same issues that everybody does across the world. How do we fix that? So success is helping people, fixing problems, and redeploying those people that would be washing dishes, not firing them, not moving them, redeploying them to a better usage of that $27 an hour paycheck. And I think that's success is different in everyone, as I said. But for me, it's how do I help the next person?
I love that.
Thanks, Chef.
I love it. Well, Chef, we have a cruise line chef.
I was about to bring.
We're gonna bring that up. We're gonna bring that up too.
Chef, it's a pleasure to meet you virtually. My name is Harjeet. I am one of the instructors, and it was interesting to know that you also had a stint on the cruise ships, because a good chunk of my career I spent on the cruise ships as well. Again, started as a cook. By the time I left, I was executive sous chef, chef de cuisine. So interesting to know that you also had that.
So I worked with Celebrity Cruises. I worked with Crystal Cruises. And I opened 2 ships for Norwegian Cruise Line as a young 30-year-old, boisterous, loud, egotistical, all those things that I've just told you not to be.
I can check those all columns. It's exactly the same thing that how I was.
That's the learning process. But what cruise line did you work on?
I worked for the Carnival Cruise Line, and I was there for 10 years and part of the startup for 7 brand new ships.
Wow. That's awesome.
So,
yeah, they're not easy open ships.
Oh yeah, it's not an easy place to set up, I guess. All those transatlantic crossings and the mistakes that you make. By the time you're ready to pick up the guests, it's all set.
Yeah.
But they don't know anything better than what pain you went through. But it was fun. It was fun. It was really a good learning experience. And I watched your Restaurant Impossible. On televisions, and mostly it was involved around turning around the restaurants or the dining establishments that were struggling. I haven't had the opportunity to get my hands on your new book yet, but how do you apply those principles that you have in your book in situations like that?
Really simple, and a lot of the book is about those turnarounds. So I bought companies, I made companies. One of my companies right now is worth $500 million. If I sold it today, just one of those companies, from scratch. And how I imply those. So first of all, the process for me to walk into a restaurant is really exciting, because I go in, I choose not to know anything about the people. I choose that. The production team get there the day before. They set up tents and cameras and all that kind of stuff. They do their interviews. I walk in cold. You tell me your story, how you started. You've seen the show, right? But this is real. I listened to you. And years ago, I didn't care what you wanted to say. I really didn't, because for me, it was fixing a business. Then I started over the years to start to say, well, okay, how do I get more out of these people instead of them want to spit and kick and hate on you, which some of them still do, by the way. But and I really find out what was the intention when you originally opened this restaurant. What did you want it to be? How did you want it to go? What food it was? Why did you get into it? Right. So that's the first kind of question. First 8 hours. It's actually about 8 hours and 1 minute till people really understand why I'm there. And I'm not there to make television, because I really don't care about television. That's a true story. I care about fixing the business. Then when they realize that, they open up to me and say, look, was this. So my design is based on the conversation with the people.
Yeah.
And I have to look at the staffing to see, the equipment in the kitchen, what the skill level is, and what menu can I put together they can put out so they can turn that restaurant 4 or 5 times so they can make the money, right?
Right.
But the biggest failure in business is leadership. Having a vision. Yes, I want to open a restaurant. The biggest failing restaurant in the world is Italian. Why? Because they say, oh, mom says my meatballs are great. They make great gravy or sauce, wherever you can. I should open a restaurant. So they do. They bring all the friends. You drink, you eat for free because, look, Robert's got a restaurant, right? Roberto has got a restaurant. And then 2 months later, they're $350,000 in debt. And they have no idea how they got there. So when I asked them the food costs, the labor costs of it, and by the way, even 13 years after doing this show, and I asked the same questions, right? You watch the show, you can see it. And nobody knows until I pull out a profit and loss statement and I say, okay, look, you said it's 23. It's actually 47, 63, whatever the number is. So the first thing is the vision and the leadership of the people. Having a vision of what you want that restaurant to be and what that food is. Then, just like I said, we invite everybody over. We drink. Look, I've got a restaurant because I'm Robert Irvine, Roberto Irvine, whatever. And we don't take care of the people that come there. So eventually, service slides, food slides, or if it was even there, right? It slides, and people stop coming in. And one of the biggest things I see is, oh, we did $2 million last year. And I said, okay, what did it cost you to make $2 million? 2.4. Well, that's a charity, not a business, right? The leadership, the vision, the leadership, listening to the people. A server that's 70 years old, that husband's sick, and she calls out. She's telling you she's going to call out because her husband's sick, and you say, no, you can't call out because I need you tonight. Well, guess what? Her husband's more important than you. Sorry.
Absolutely.
And we don't hear that, right? We hear about our business, and so that's where the empathetic people piece comes in, and listening, the ego, and trusting them with. It's like, if you have a thoroughbred and you hold a thoroughbred, it can't run, but it's going to neigh and it's going to kick. And it's going to run. We want the thoroughbred to run. So let the reins go of the people. Trust them to do their job. If they don't do it, right, to the expectations that you've already set, then pull them to the side. Say, hey, look, I wanted and one of my biggest pet peeves is the way we roll silver and lay tables. I'm asinine about it. I like the certain chair goes a certain way. I train my staff. I train everybody on the show there, and then I've got to let them go. If they make a mistake the first time, I correct them, and I correct them the third time, and then they get it. But unless you train and set the expectations, they'll never do it the way you want because they get lazy. And if there's no, side work and there's no checkoffs and there's no accountability, good luck, you're failing.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to do it at 11 o'clock at night, not going to do side work because they're tired. Yet, if you let them get away with it once, they're going to, it's like children, you take something away from a child, a toy that they like, or a computer or a phone, when they do something wrong. Well, you have to do the same thing with your employees. Again, setting expectations, holding accountable, and lead them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you mention that, with that example of, hey, because Roberto's opened a restaurant, and oftentimes it happens that, yes, you have a vision, but then you get bogged down with other things and you forget about the people that are helping you run that place. I think I totally agree with your being an empathetic leader.
It's no different, and you know this better than the two young ladies there, simply because you worked on a cruise ship. So the cruise ships, and I opened Disney Cruise Line, I opened a few things. Yeah. The cruise line company doesn't want Americans to work. Why? Because, the cruise line, and this is not me, but it is me, says that Americans are lazy. They're not going to work 18 hours a day.
True.
So where do we bring our people from? From around the world.
Around the world, yeah.
Because they need money, whatever the case is. Yeah. And I have the best pastry chef in the world, other than Tom Vaccaro, who was at CIA and whatever. He worked for me running casinos.
Okay.
Other than him, I had an Indian pastry chef named Sham, who was probably the best trained pastry chef I've ever had in my life. And he used to send the money home. But I had to understand his culture. I had to understand him. I understand, his hard work. This guy would work 24 hours a day and then some, and never take a day off. I had to force him to take days off.
Yeah.
And they're the people you want to take care of because they care. They care about
Exactly.
the job. They care about you. It's not their money, but they feel like it's their money. And I think that's again, making success is making people feel part of the ownership of whatever it is that they own. Or my team has that ownership.
It's amazing, eh?
Yeah, they when, like Chef said, when they think that they're part, or they think that they're in ownership group, they take accountability. They hold themselves responsible to make sure that yes, everything gets done the way the expectation has been laid out. No, that's interesting.
We don't owe anybody anything except respect,
Yep.
training, and accountability. And when you have them three things, so it's like if I give a chef a knife, and I always use this with a soldier. If I give a soldier a gun and a bullet, or a chef and a knife and no food, the gun's no good to the guy with no bullets, right? And the food's no good to the guy with without a knife.
Yes.
Right? So, again, give the tools, give the training, hold them accountable, give them the vision, and let them run.
Let them run, right.
It's awesome. Well, Chef, I first of all, I'm just blown away. First of all, to be able to speak with you with your insights. Your book is like, I've read a lot of books over my career. Your book is really, and I'm sincerely saying this, it's inspiring. It's really good. Like it's a home run. And you also mentioned that it's number one. And to me, that's not a surprise at all. It is phenomenal because it's not what I've heard and read before. You really inspiring people, and I think that's what we need right now is your book. It's like the timing's absolutely perfect because we're dealing with this in our industry in Canada right now. A lot of people have been through the ringer, let's call it, over the last few years. And it seems like we have a plastic ban coming up right now in Canada for single use. So we're going through this now. We have inflation rates and everything else.
Yeah.
So if people can pick up your book right now, I think it will help them immensely through what they're dealing with right now. So first of all, I just want to sincerely thank you for your time today, writing the book. I want to thank Nate. I'm like you, Chef. I want to inspire others. I could have just done this myself, but no, pick up the phone. We have another gentleman over here from Nate that really helped me put this all together, Mitch. And having these amazing people that are really inspiring and leading and bringing people into our industry, and we need more people like this.
Absolutely. And look, I like you, Jay. I've listened and read and every book there is because I'm a serial entrepreneur. I want to do more things. And look, I can be honest with you. I cook for the military folks. I cook on TV. I don't cook my wife's a great chef. She'll cook. She cooks at home. I don't. I have chefs that I told you that are amazing. For me, it's about how do we make a difference? How do we continue to take food as a staple, a core competency, and then move that food around to whatever's next in this spoke of the wheel kind of thing. So look, all three of you there are doing amazing things. But I want you to keep the kids grounded. I want you to understand that, we don't need a $200 knife. We don't need a specific pan. You should be able to, and we do it all the time. I mean, during the Afghanistan war, we would drop in and feed 30,000 people with nothing in the middle of nowhere, right? That's what chefs and cooks do. Because an army marches on its stomach. And no matter where you are, whether you're in a hotel, whether you're in a restaurant, on a cruise ship, and you know this because you've been there, all of you, I think it's important that we are a piece of a puzzle or a solution to a piece of a puzzle. We get them on a ship, we get them in a hotel, we get them in a restaurant, and we've got to make sure they have a good time with great food, the best we can possibly do, and send them on their way so they talk about it because that's how chefs make the name, right? Look, I'm a cook. I'm on TV, get it? I have some things, but there's 1,000 chefs out there that are way better and smarter than me. I just got lucky in the right time at the right place and was able to convert some of those opportunities. And I mean that. Look, you are put on this planet, and the more you do for others, the more successful you will be. It's like cause marketing.
So true.
Right? So
it's so true.
I that's the first thing that when we get a new group of students, you got to gauge it, who's where, and Kelsey can attest to that because she's in the lab right next to me. They're loud and boisterous, and they think they are, been in the industry for a year or two, and they know it all, people. And then they come to my lab, and then like, okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your vision or expectation from my lab? And then I hear these stories, and as the time goes on, you see them coming down and down. And then by the time they leave my lab, they're well grounded.
Modest.
And I give them this example of I use a lot of examples from military as well, because my background, my family background is military. I was educated at a military school, so they're like, everything has to be regimented.
We share a lot in common.
Yeah.
Sorry?
We share a lot in common.
I agree, Chef. So
Awesome.
no, it's really important. And to be honest, I can attest to that statement of yours that you don't consider yourself a chef, you're a cook. I tell that to my class every day. I say, I don't know a lot of things. I don't know what all I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So every day we are learning. So
Yeah.
I remember coming out of the military and having a jacket with 16 different things on my chest for years, by the way, until I met my wife 13, 14 years, 15 years ago, whatever it is now. And she just like looked at me like, really? My jacket has my name on it. That's it,
Yeah.
So yeah, you learn, you grow up, and you. But I never had good. I had good mentors, but nobody that would put me in my place like my wife. So
Yeah, I think our families do that. My kids do that every day to me. Dad, you're just no. I mentioned that you're on the show today, and they're like, "Yeah, so Dad." They ground me. Well, thank you. So first of all, thank you again, Chef, for just honestly the time today. I know I want to put a shout out on your book, and I want everyone in Canada and in the U.S., because we are in the U.S. as well, but definitely in Canada, to go out there and grab the Overcoming Impossible book that Robert Irvine has wrote. You honestly, you will not be disappointed on getting this book. It is honestly the best. I did a book last year. I didn't do the book, but I read the book for Audible for a gentleman, and I thought it was good. It's a good book too. But your book, holy smokes, it is unbelievable. So
I tried to do the Audible, and I sucked at it. I did the opening, and then I'm like, no, somebody's got to.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
Yeah, oh my God.
I dare you all to try to read a book for Audible. It's hard.
I did the opening chapter, and that was it for me. I'm like,
I know. I was like, 2 weeks, no problem. 4 months later, I was like, whoa, this is hard.
Creative people tend to be. So when I do social media and I do my own Twitter, when I talk, it's one sentence, no punctuation, 140 characters, and you figure it out, right? So everybody knows when I tweet, it's me and there's nobody else. I live tweet the show every Thursday from 8 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening till 2 o'clock in the morning. So we'll do that tonight because there's a new show on, and they'll know it's me, right? So.
Well, you know what? I think it's awesome that you're exactly like you said before we got on the show today. What you see on the show is you, right? And I want to also just do a shout out that I'm glad you're not doing some of that stuff that we see on those shows in the Food Network. That is a little crazy. That you're doing what we need is to inspire others and to improve other restaurants and businesses out there. We need more of that, right? So don't go anywhere. Keep doing your show.
Well, I'm not going anywhere, I hope.
But we need you up here in Edmonton. You gotta come. We're inviting you.
We gotta go to Edmonton.
So we're gonna invite you to Nate. We're gonna invite you up here to Sysco.
You invite me, I'll show up. As long as
we're gonna bring you up here.
Like cold.
Well, in the summer.
I'm a big Nancy boy right now because I grew up in the military, and now I like Floridian weather. I'm in Philadelphia. So
it's not that cold now.
It's not that cold.
Right
You're welcome anytime now, actually.
Backyard barbecue.
The invitation is open. Yes, all of us.
Yes.
Are in a
You
position
send- you
to
send
invite you to Nate.
Hey, you send it to my team and we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
Done.
Well, thank you again, Chef. And to everyone else, go out there and grab his book. I tell you, Chef Robert Irvine has wrote the book of the, I don't know if it's like the millennial or the century. He wrote the best book I've ever read and listened to.
It's a good
But
book.
thank
I
you
like
again,
it.
Chef.
So.
Yes, you inspire us, and I just appreciate you and everything you're doing for our industry. We really need you, and we really need you in Canada. And we're going to bring this everywhere in Canada, and we're going to share this everywhere. So
Yeah,
thanks again, Chef.
What's the name of that restaurant you used to go to, babe, in Canada? The one with the brown gravy. The
Smokes Poutineery or Smokes?
No. We went to it. I've forgotten the name of it. The keg.
I love
My wife took me to the keg. I almost threw up.
Oh, the
Oh,
That's funny. I was just
there you
there.
go. I was gonna say, I like how
We
you
have more now
reference.
too, you know.
He references our culinary scene by gravy. I love that.
Brown gravy.
Brown gravy.
She said that's the gravy England has. Yes, but it's a little different.
Yes. The dark brown gravy. Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Chef.
guys. Appreciate you. Keep doing great work.
Honestly,
Absolutely. Thank you
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Awesome. Thank you, Chef.
Bye now.
Take care.